friends, welcome to his American English Center. Take your bearings and cook. We have come here to the video number 60. It's American accent training number 3. We have come here to the page number 156, 157. You're going to see the tenses. Present, past, future. It goes in for 25 types of sentences. The subject and object is the same, but only the verb changes. Here, the verb is erode. What do you mean by erode? River is flowing. The rocks and mountains are there on the sides. Because of certain chemical reactions, the rock is eroded in the sense means what? It is getting taken away, eroded, right? So because of because of chemical causes. So erode is the present tense. Erode is the eroded. It is the past tense. Continuous are eroding. Future will erode. Present conditional would erode. Present conditional I would come. Present conditional. Past conditional would have eroded. Relative pronoun that have eroded, that stands for rocks. Present perfect have eroded, past perfect had eroded, future perfect will have eroded. Obligation, what do you mean by obligation? It's your duty to do that or to erode. Obligation should erode, should come, you should come. Obligation shouldn't erode, no, negative. Should have eroded, it is obligation. Obligation shouldn't have eroded, you shouldn't have spoken lies. Like that. Possibility could erode. Ability could erode. The reverse could erode. The ability. The possibility and ability couldn't erode. Possibility and ability could have eroded. Possibility and ability couldn't have eroded. Possibility might erode. Possibility might have eroded. Probability must erode. Probability, probably I must study. It is a surety or possibility? Probability. Probability. You are not sure about yourself. You are conditioning yourself. I must study. So there is a, what is that? Probability. Probability means less chances. Probability I must have. Ability can erode. Ability can't erode. So dear friends, erode means what? Because of chemical reactions, the rocks gets eroded. Means it is slightly getting shaped up, right? The stones get eroded and you get what type of stones? In Tamil they say kulangalkal, bubbles, isn't it? Yes, erode. Present tense. The floods erode the mountains. The floods erode the mountains. Floods and mountains are nouns, so you have to stress on floods and mountains. Noun should be stressed. The floods erode the mountains. The floods erode the mountains. Suppose instead of flood it comes, instead of mountains them comes. So now the verb should be stressed more. It erodes them. It erodes them. Past tense, the floods eroded the mountains. It eroded them. Past tense, continuous. The floods are eroding the mountains. It's eroding them. Now you're stressing on eroding. Because pronouns, because of instead of floods you have its, instead of mountains you have them. Future will erode. The floods will erode the mountains. The floods will erode, not will erode, will erode. The floods will erode the mountains. It will erode them if it keeps up. Present conditional would erode. I would come for your marriage if you invite me. So the floods would erode the mountains. It would erode them if it kept up. If the flood level goes up, it will erode them. Past conditional would have eroded. The floods would have eroded the mountains. It would have eroded them if it had kept up. Relative pronoun that have eroded, that stands for the floods. That floods that have eroded the mountains, the one that's have eroded them, it's quite odd. Present perfect have eroded. See, the floods have eroded the mountains. It has eroded them for eons, ages. Eons means for long time. Past perfect had eroded. The floods had eroded the mountains. The floods and mountains are stressed. It had eroded them before the last ice age. Future perfect will have eroded. The floods will have eroded the mountains. The floods and mountains are stressed. It will have eroded them by the end of the millennium. Millennium means what? 100 years, isn't it? Ought to erode, obligation. The floods ought to erode the mountains. It ought to erode them. Obligation should erode. The flood should erode the mountains. It should erode them. So when nouns are there, nouns are stressed. When instead of nouns, pronoun comes, the verbs are stressed. Obligation shouldn't erode. The flood shouldn't erode the mountains. It shouldn't erode them. Now obligation should have eroded. The flood should have eroded the mountains. It should have eroded them. Now we are coming here to obligation shouldn't have. The flood shouldn't have eroded the mountains. It shouldn't have eroded them. Possibility and ability could erode. The floods could erode the mountains. It could erode them. And your possibility and ability couldn't erode. The floods couldn't erode the mountains. The floods couldn't have eroded the mountains, right? So it could erode them. Now possibility could have eroded. The floods could have eroded the mountains. It could have eroded them. Now comes here possibility and ability couldn't have. The floods couldn't have eroded the mountains. It couldn't have eroded them. Now comes here possibility might erode. The floods might erode the mountains. It might erode them. Now coming here possibility might have. The floods might have eroded the mountains. It might have eroded them. Next probability must erode. The floods must erode the mountains. It must erode them. Now coming here possibility must have. The floods must have eroded the mountains. It must have eroded them. Now ability can erode. The floods can erode the mountains. It can erode them. Ability can't erode. The floods can't erode the mountains. It can't erode them. Got it, sir? So what is the condition here? When nouns are there, nouns are stressed. And when verbs are there without pronouns, without nouns, the verbs are stressed. So present tense, past tense, future, present continuous, past continuous, future continuous, present perfect, past perfect, future perfect, modal verbs could and could have, should and should have, must and must have, might and might have, can and can't have, all positive and negatives. You got it, sir? I request you, young lady, to come and say from 1 to 5. You 5 to 10, you sir 5 to 12, you sir 13 to 25, right? Let us start here. Yeah. Start.
In present tense, erode. The floods erode the mountains. It erodes them. Past tense, eroded. The floods eroded the mountains. It eroded them. Continuous tense are eroding. The floods are eroding the mountains. It eroding them. Future will erode. The floods will erode the mountains. It will erode them. Present conditional would erode. The floods erode the mountains. It
would erode them. It would erode them.
It would erode them if it kept up. Past conditional would have eroded. The floods
would have eroded.
Would erode the mountains. It would have eroded them if it would kept up.
Yes, you.
Relative pronoun that have eroded, that floods that have eroded the mountains. The one that eroded them is quite odd. Present perfect, have eroded. The floods have eroded the mountains. It is eroded them for
ages, icons, cons. Yawns means ages. Pala kalangal.
Past perfect, had eroded. The floods had eroded the mountains. It had eroded them before the last ice age. Future perfect will have eroded. The floods will have eroded the mountains. It will have eroded them by the end of the millennium. Obligation ought to erode. The floods ought to erode the mountains. It ought to erode them. Obligation should erode. The floods should erode the mountains. It should erode them.
Yes, sir. நீ அங்கே உட்காந்துக்க. Obligation.
Obligation should not erode. The floods shouldn't erode the mountains. He shouldn't erode them. Obligation should have eroded. The floods should have eroded the mountains. It should have eroded them. Obligation should not have. The floods shouldn't have eroded the mountains. It shouldn't have eroded them. Possibility and ability could erode. The floods could erode the mountains. It could erode them. Possibility, ability could not erode. The floods could not erode the mountains. Possibility, ability could have eroded. Floods could have eroded the mountains. It could have eroded them. Possibility, ability could not have. The floods couldn't have eroded the mountains. It could have eroded them. Possibility might erode. The floods might erode the mountains. It might erode them. Possibility might have. The floods might have eroded the mountains. It might have eroded them. Possibility, probability must erode. Floods must erode the mountains. It must erode them. Probability must have. The floods must have eroded the mountains. It must have eroded them. Ability control. The floods can erode the mountains. It can erode them. Ability can't erode. The floods can't erode the mountains. It can't erode them.
Good, sir. Very good, sir. நண்பர்களே, அமெரிக்கன் ஆங்கில வகுப்புகளுக்கு வரவேற்கிறோம். உங்களுடைய பேரன்ஸ் அண்ட் குக் புக்கை எடுத்துக்கொள்ளுங்கள். வீடியோ நம்பர் 60. இங்கே ஒரு வாக்கியம் கொடுக்கப்பட்டிருக்கிறது. ஃப்ளட்ஸ் என்றால் என்ன? பெரும் மழை, புயல். பெரும் மழையும் புயலும் எரோட் த மவுண்டன்ஸ். எரோட் என்றால் என்ன? அது தமிழில் என்ன சரியான வார்த்தை? அரிக்கிறது. அரிக்கிறது. அந்த சில தண்ணீர் பாய்ந்து வருகிற பொழுது அங்கே இருக்கக்கூடிய அந்த மலைகளில் இருக்கக்கூடிய கல்கள் தேய்கிறது. ஸோ இது ஃப்ளட்ஸு புயல், மலை, மவுண்டன்ஸ் மலைகள். இது ரெண்டும் பெயர் சொற்கள். நடுவில் இருக்கக்கூடியது வினைச்சொற்கள். இங்கே பார்த்தீங்கன்னா நிகழ்காலம், இறந்த காலம், நிகழ்கால தொடர் ஆர் எரோடிங், வில் எரோடு எதிர்காலம், ப்ரெசன்ட் கண்டிஷனல், would erode. இந்த would கூட நிகழ்கால வினைச்சொல் வருகிற பொழுது கண்டிஷன். I would come, நான் வருவேன், நீ அழைத்தால். பாஸ்ட் கண்டினியூஷன் would have eroded, நான் வந்திருப்பேன், நீ அழைத்திருந்தால். would have eroded. ரிலேட்டிவ் ப்ரோனன், the pen that I have bought ன்னு சொல்கிறோம். இந்த பேனாவை பற்றி குறிப்பிடுகிற பொழுது தட் என்பது அந்த புயலும் மலையை பற்றி சொல்கிறது. ப்ரெசன்ட் பர்ஃபெக்ட். have eroded, வந்திருப்பேன் என்று சொல்வது போல have eroded, had eroded, past perfect. future perfect, will have eroded, வந்திருப்பேன் என்று சொல்வது போல. ought to என்றால் என்ன? சமுதாய கடமையை செய்வது. ought to erode, நான் வந்திருக்க வேண்டும். ought to. obligation should erode, you should study. அது obligation, உன்னுடைய கடமையை பற்றி சொல்கிற பொழுது. shouldn't erode, நீ போய் சொல்லக்கூடாது, அது கடமை. obligation should have eroded, நீ படித்திருந்திருக்க வேண்டும், அது obligation. shouldn't have gone abroad, நீ வெளிநாடு போய் இருந்திருக்க கூடாது. possibility, முடியும். I could buy என்று சொல்வது போல could erode. ability, possibility, ability couldn't erode, couldn't comங்கிற மாதிரி. possibility, ability could have eroded, ஆகி இருந்திருக்க முடியும். possibility couldn't have, ஆகி இருந்திருக்க முடியாது. possibility might erode, ஒரு வேளை வரலாம். possibility might have. probability must erode, நல்லா நாம வச்சுக்கோங்க. must என்பது ஒரு probability தான், அது ஒரு பாசிபிலிட்டி இல்லை. probability must have. எபிலிட்டி கேன் எரோட் முடியும், எபிலிட்டி கேன்ட் எரோட் முடியாது. ஸோ நண்பர்களே, இந்த நிகழ்கால வினைச்சொற்கள், இறந்த கால வினைச்சொற்கள், எதிர்கால வினைச்சொற்கள், மாடல் வினைச்சொற்கள், இவைகள் எல்லாம் வாக்கியத்தின் நடுவிலே வருகிறது. அவைகளுக்கு அழுத்தம் கொடுக்க வேண்டும் கம்மியாக. எப்பொழுது பெயர்ச்சொல் இருக்கிற பொழுது அந்த பெயர்ச்சொல்லுக்கு பதிலாக பிரதிபெயர் சொற்களான இட்டு, அந்த ஃப்ளட்ஸுகளுக்கு பதிலாக, புயலுக்கு பதிலாக இட்டும், மவுண்டனுக்கு பதிலாக தெம் என்று வருகிற பொழுது இந்த வினைச்சொற்களினுடைய அழுத்தம் அதிக உச்சஸ்தானியில் இருக்க வேண்டும். உதாரணத்திற்கு the floods erode the mountains, அந்த புயலும் வெள்ளையும் அந்த மலைகளை அரிக்கிறது என்று வருகிறது. it erodes them, அது அவைகளை அரிக்கிறது. இந்த அவைகள் என்பது மலைகள். the floods eroded the mountains, அந்த புயலும் மலையும் eroded the mountains என்றால் என்ன? அரித்து விட்டது மலைகளை. it eroded them, eroded கழுத்தம் கொடுக்கணும். are erodingனா தொடர்ந்து நடந்து கொண்டிருக்கிறது. the floods are eroding the mountains, புயலும் மலையும் மலைகளை அரித்து கொண்டிருக்கிறது. it's eroding them, eroding கழுத்தம் கொடுக்கணும். future, அது அரிக்கும். the floods will erode the mountains, it will erode them if it keeps up. present conditional would erode, the floods would erode the mountains, புயலும் மலையும் மலைகளை அரிக்கக்கூடிய வாய்ப்புகள் அதிகமாக இருக்கிறது. to erode them if it kept up. past conditional, இறந்த காலத்திலே நடந்திருக்க முடியும். would have eroded, the floods would have eroded the mountains, மலையும் புயலும் மலைகளை அரித்திருந்திருக்க வேண்டும். it would have eroded them if it have kept up. relative pronoun, that have eroded, the floods that have eroded the mountains, அந்த புயலும் மலையும் எது அரிக்கப்பட்ட, that have eroded the mountains, the one that's eroded them is quite odd. present perfect, have eroded, the floods have eroded the mountains, புயலும் மலையும் மலைகளை அரித்திருந்திருக்கிறது. it is eroded them for eons, eonsனா பல காலங்களாக. past perfect, had eroded, the floods had eroded the mountains, புயலும் மலையும் மலைகளை அரித்திருந்தது. that it had eroded them before the last ice age. future perfect, எதிர்காலத்திலே ஒன்று நடந்து முடிந்திருக்கும். the floods will have eroded the mountains, புயலும் மலையும் மலைகளை அரித்திருந்திருக்க வேண்டும். it will have eroded them by the end of this millennium, இந்த வரும் 100 ஆண்டு காலத்திற்குள் இவைகள் அழிக்கப்பட்டிருக்கும். ought to erode, obligation, சமுதாய கடமை. the floods ought to erode the mountains, புயலும் மலையும் மலைகளை அரிக்க வேண்டியது அதனுடைய கடமையாக இருக்கிறது. it ought to erode them, obligation should erode, செய்தாக வேண்டும். the flood should erode the mountains, புயலும் மலையும் மலைகளை அழித்தாக வேண்டியதாக இருக்கிறது. it should erode them, அது அவைகளை அரிக்க வேண்டும். obligation shouldn't erode, அரிக்க கூடாது. the flood shouldn't erode the mountains, புயலும் மலையும் மலைகளை அரிக்க கூடாது. it shouldn't erode them, அவைகள் அதை அரிக்கக்கூடாது. obligation should have eroded, the flood should have eroded the mountains, புயலும் மலைகளும் மலைகளை அரித்திருந்திருக்க வேண்டும். it should have eroded them. அடுத்ததாக obligation shouldn't have, the flood shouldn't have eroded the mountains, மலையும் புயலும் மலைகளை அரித்திருந்திருக்க கூடாது. it shouldn't have eroded them. அடுத்தது பாசிபிலிட்டி, எபிலிட்டி, முடியக்கூடிய தன்மை. the floods could erode the mountains, புயலும் மலையும் மலைகளை அரிக்க முடியும். it could erode them, அவைகள் அது அவைகளை அரிக்க முடியும். பாசிபிலிட்டி couldn't erode, the floods couldn't erode the mountains, புயலும் மலையும் மலைகளை அரிக்க முடியாது. the floods couldn't have eroded the mountains. அடுத்ததாக பாசிபிலிட்டி couldn't have, the floods couldn't have eroded the mountains, அந்த புயலும் மலையும் மலைகளை அரித்திருந்திருக்க முடியாது. it couldn't have eroded them. அடுத்து பாசிபிலிட்டி might erode, the floods might erode the mountains, புயலும் மலையும் மலைகளை அரித்திருக்கலாம். அடுத்தது might have, the floods might have eroded the mountains, it might have eroded them. அடுத்தது probability must erode, the floods must erode the mountains, புயலும் மலையும் மலைகளை கண்டிப்பாக அரிக்க வேண்டும். it must erode them. probability must have, the floods must have eroded the mountains, புயலும் மலையும் மலையை அரித்திருந்திருக்க கண்டிப்பாக அரித்திருந்திருக்க வேண்டும். it must have eroded them. ability, முடியக்கூடிய திறமை. can erode, the floods can erode the mountains, ஆக புயலும் மலையை அரிக்க முடியும். it can erode them. can't erode, ability. the floods can't erode the mountains, புயலும் மழையும் மலைகளை அழிக்க முடியாது. இட் கேன்ட் எரோட் them. அவைகளை அழிக்க முடியாது. ஸோ நண்பர்களே, இத்தனை கண்டிஷன் வெர்பினுடைய பல வகைகள், 25 வகைகள் பெயர்ச்சொற்களுடன், பெயர்ச்சொல் இல்லாமல் பிரதிபெயர்ச்சொற்களுடன் ஆக 50 வாக்கியங்களை பார்த்திருக்கிறீர்கள். இன்று அன்றாடும் உங்களுடைய அன்றாடும் பேச்சு வழக்கத்திலே பெயர்ச்சொல் இருக்கிற பொழுது பெயர்ச்சொல்லுக்கும், பெயர்ச்சொல் இல்லாத பொழுது வினைச்சொல்லுக்கும் அதிக முக்கியத்துவம் கொடுங்கள். தேங்க்யூ வெரி மச்.